until somebody shows them that they are there for them, and then they feel comfortable enough to do that. And that person has to be the voice to tell them, yes, you have somebody out there to help you. And I mean, it just takes, it's hard to express what they feel, but
And I think that they may be a little bit ashamed of it also, and think that they might be the only person going through this, or nobody's going to really understand, or somebody's going to, look at them in a negative way. So I think that might have a big part to do with it too.
And it can also be too is that when they do come forward, and because that takes guts, it takes a huge amount of courage to say, yes, I've been victimized this way. But to when they do come forward, their experience is so negative by the people who they're telling for the first time that they don't ever tell anybody else. So I think that's one of the biggest and scariest things when you're dealing with this kind of stuff, and when someone comes to you, because I've been doing this for a long time, and not much shocks me, but some every now and then one gets under the wire, and you're like, wow, you just have to catch yourself, because it's human to go, holy cow, like just like, what are you gonna do with that? And I'm so sorry that happened. But how you really have to catch yourself and make sure that you're responding in a way that thank you so much for telling me this, and I'm so glad you felt comfortable enough to tell me this, and what can we do to get you the help that you need if you need it. So it's powerful stuff.
Also, some of the signs of potential sexual assaulters. Before I want to get your before we get your expertise on it, Miss Trace Fleming-Smith, I want to ask the two of you, Justin and Shay, what do you all see as potential signs of someone who is sexually violent, or who is a potential sexual assaulter?
I would definitely say aggressive behavior, and also stalking would be a big red flag to me also.
I would just say signs of disrespect. What makes, if a person comes to you and you feel disrespected any type of way, I feel that person is a possible assault. I think that you should look out. You should always look out for red flags of if they don't ask you for your name, if they're not approaching you at the right time, if they just think that you should be talking to them, and then you don't talk to them, and then you just say, oh man, you stuck up, and then but it just comes about how they approach you, disrespectful, and that's the main thing that I think is the key to look for.
Ms. Fleming-Smith, were they kind of right on, or were they out in left field, or were they?
I think they have some excellent points, and the thing too is that a lot of what to do with sexual assault is all about stereotypes, and we have stereotypes when you picture in your mind, like, oh well, what's a sexual assault predator or a perpetrator? It's usually somebody scraggly, usually crazy hair, mugshot picture. That's what you're picturing in your mind, or the person who jumps out from behind the bushes and drags somebody away. I'm not saying that we don't have perpetrators like that. We do, but the majority of perpetrators are well liked and popular people. They have that about them. They're
good, dressed up all the time.
Exactly. They're good.
Yes.
They're the folks who, like, when somebody says, well, that's a rapist, you go, oh, no way. No way, that person could never be. But and the reality is that that's a mask.
Well, when you talk about that, a person that has a little bit of power, it goes back to power. Like if you refuse that person, like, this person, you shouldn't be refusing me. Like I'm dressed up. I'm one of the nicest guys here. I'm the best.
I'm the man.
I'm the man. Like who are you to refuse me? You gotta make sure that you check these signs. And I'm not trying to blame the victim at all, not at all. But there are signs that you have to look for when you're trying to, even when you're looking for friends.
Absolutely.
There's signs that you have to look for to make sure these are the people that you want to be around with and associated with. And if you are approached by a guy that maybe have it all together, but he is just all about himself, and you realize that, but you keep talking to him, I feel like you need to take a step back, think about, is this the kind of person I want to be associated with that's all about themselves and not about, you can be about yourself, but also think about others as well.
And the thing too is that we have some predators and perpetrators out there who do everything they can to appear to be really friendly. How can I help you? So it's almost when that they build that trust in their victim, and it's like they're grooming them for this. And then, so when it comes right down to it, when the rape happens, the victim is just so floored, because not only are the fact that they've just gone through a rape, but they've gone through a rape by somebody that they trusted. And then it's almost like a girl just talked to me this week. It's Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and I get a lot of news stories all the time. And someone was talking to me about her experience at a high school where her rapist was her best friend, her best male friend in the world. And he was popular, very, very popular. And when it came down to it, she didn't report because she knew that no one was going to believe her in this fairly exclusive high school that she was at. And that just blows my mind that we have these images. It goes back to stereotypes a lot of the time, but we have to be paying attention. We have male and female predators. We have perpetrators of all shapes and sizes, and it comes down to power and control.
Do you think, Ms. Fleming-Smith, do you think that the post emotions, if you will, the emotions that they go through after said attack, do you think that it's different if the emotions that they go through, do you think it's different if the attack was made by somebody that they know or a stranger? What their mind mentally, what it takes them through afterwards. Are there differences? Are there no differences?
Well, I think in my professional experience, most of the victims that I've worked with in the emergency rooms doing forensic exams with, they absolutely knew who their perpetrators were. They were acquaintances in some capacity. They were friends or family members. But I have seen stranger rapists. That's happened. But I feel like, I feel like no matter what, the trauma is terrible and lingering, and one of these things that can't be negated just by saying, get over it, because that doesn't work. But I think that, I think when the victim knows who their perpetrator is, I think that can add additional trauma, because not only is their safety completely ripped away from them, but now their trust and their self-confidence in that ability to, like, if I trusted this person, how am I going to trust the next person? I think that's definitely a factor.
Where at least if it was a stranger, then they wouldn't have that. I mean, that idea of trust will still, that'll be affected somewhat, but at least, they won't have to question everybody that they know.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
They won't have to question, the people that they surround themselves with, and their friends and acquaintances, even family members.
Absolutely.
Even family members. What about bystander behavior? Individuals, bystander behavior, for any of you all who are not familiar with that, bystander behavior is in which it's just what the word is. You stand by a person, and I don't mean stand by and watching the person being sexually assaulted. That's not what I clearly mean. I mean, for instance, if you're at a party and you see a young lady or somebody that is drunk, and somebody is trying to take them to that back room, way in the back of the house, and you just stand there and let it happen. That is what bystander behavior is. I want to discuss this on a very broad level here. Shay, I want to know if there was a situation where you were at a party and you did see a young lady or someone that one of your friends being carried back in the back room, drunk or high, whatever level of incapacitation they may be in at that particular point in time. How would you handle that? What would you do?
My first instinct, especially if they were a friend of mine or just a woman, like just seeing them around campus, I would probably go into protective mode and try to protect them, try to get down to, okay, does she know what she's doing? This might not be a good idea, because she might say yes, and then tomorrow she might not remember that she said yes. So that could also be that for the guy. And try to, prevent that situation from going on, is what I would do. But sometimes you have to be careful too, because then that could, so I would probably try to get some help, somebody to help me also, and try to help that person.
Justin, I know that amongst men, there is this, I guess, I'm not sure what you call it, bros code or the gentleman's code of
Universal
honor.
law.
Say that one more time.
Universal law.
Okay, the universal law.
Universal law.
That you don't get in the way of another man's game or another man's, his play. As a man, I want to get your feelings on the bystander issue.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just about to ask you in reverse of what I asked Shay, except I'd put you in the situation instead of her. If you saw, let's just say if you saw a male friend of yours at a party or at a house party or something, and you see a male friend of yours carrying an intoxicated young lady to that back room for possible sexual acts, what would you do? How would you handle that?
Carrying an intoxicated girl to the back room. That's extreme. That's too much. Mm-hmm. That's where you just put that universal code and just throw it out the door. Like, he's carrying her to the room, and what for? I mean, if he doesn't come out 2 seconds later, like, he might be. Some guys might just be carrying her to the room just to put her down out the way. But then, other guys, they close the door and they just don't come out.
You don't,
and that's what, and you don't see him again. And that's when you have to step in and walk in there and just be like, what's going on here? Because you have situations where she might not even be conscious. And I don't know anybody morally that could sit back and just watch that person just pass by them. And I feel like bros code goes out the window. Because at the end of the day, we are all people who have feelings, and we all should care about one another. And to let a young lady who is probably innocent in college, just had too many drinks, had too many drinks passed to her.
Like anybody can.
Yeah, exactly. And just made a mistake. It just, I don't feel like people should just let that go and just let that pass. And I think that's just, if anybody says, nah, you can't, if anybody stops anybody from interjecting, then that's ridiculous. They are worse than the person that was actually carrying them, or equally guilty than that person carrying them into that room. And, basically what I'm saying is, you throw universal bro code out the window.
Why do you think that bro code, that universal law, why do you think people have that mentality?
Well, I think people are afraid to be different, being an individual. And in college, you find that conformity is very conformity, for lack of better, you find it in a lot of guys. They want to be a part of the group. They don't want to be like, man, we're not going to invite this. They don't want people to have the idea of saying, we're not going to invite this guy to a party again, because he's doing, like, they might say he's doing the most, even though he might be doing the right thing. I think people are afraid of just not being accepted, because when you come to college, you're looking to be finding your close group of friends and finding people that will accept you. But then if you can't be accepted by the people that you want to be accepted by, you change and you hide your moral values and you push them aside. And I think that's a problem that we need to encourage more men to be individuals, because strength comes from within. Your friends can't make you strong. You have to be one with yourself and know that I am a strong person and that I know what is right from wrong. I don't need you to tell me what is right from wrong. I can feel in my heart what is right from wrong. And I wish more guys thought like that. And some guys may think like that, but they step back and hide. And we need more of them to step up.
Being a bystander is such an uncomfortable place to be.
It is.
Yes.
It really, because and I'm thinking if every single person really thought about it and was really honest with themselves and just said that, just like, I think each one of us at some way, I know I have been a bystander, and and it may not be with a violent situation, but it could be maybe a situation where you knew something was wrong, but you just didn't know what to say or how to say it. And it's just human to just be like, oh my God, what I do? What do I do?
Hesitate.
Yeah, exactly. To hesitate, but in that hesitation, you have to recognize that somebody might be being really hurt, and it's important. We have a saying at our house. If it's not brave if it's not scary. And the deal with with bystander responsibility, it's not brave if it's not scary, and you need to speak out. And when you see a situation like that, each and every time, because regardless, like you said, which is so incredibly smart, is just it doesn't matter what the bro code is. You have